Hey everybody, this is Dr. Hinson. I just wanted to post a little video because we're talking about thyroid today, and this month is Thyroid Awareness Month. So I wanted to put some information out there that you might find helpful. There are also tons of books and websites and blogs and things where you can get additional information. So I want to put some information out there that might be of use to you. So when we're talking about thyroids, there's a whole, like I said, books have been written about this. So there's a ton of things. So I'm just going to cover a few things, some things you might find interesting, but we'll see. Number one with the thyroid is, we make thyroid hormone, but one of the things people need is plenty of iodine and tyrosine. Now iodine you can get from fish and from nutrients, supplements, things like that. But tyrosine you usually get from fish, chicken, beef, protein sources. That's why you'll usually see tyrosine in a lot of the supplements you're taking for the thyroid. One thing that often gets overlooked whenever I'm working on patients, there's actually two things. One is that the liver converts 60% of T4 to T3, which means that you might be taking a thyroid supplement, but if your liver isn't properly isn't working or is nutrient deficient and not up to par, you may not be making this conversion. So you may be taking the right thyroid medication or the right thyroid nutritional support, but not seeing the results. So one of the things we do is check the liver, and the next thing we also look at are the parotid glands. These are little glands inside our cheeks. Their job is to deiodinate the food that we eat. So it extracts the iodine from the food. So sometimes when I'm working with patients and they've got a thyroid problem that hasn't responded to other methods, this is one of the things I always like to check. And there's nutrient support for the parotids that enable people to really use the iodine they're taking, but also get iodine from the food that they're eating. And also the hypothalamus pituitary, really in general, the entire endocrine system needs to be supported when you're working on the thyroid, not just the thyroid. Okay, that's a big mistake I see a lot of people making, is that they only want to do something just for the thyroid, when in reality, if there's problems with the hypothalamus or the pituitary, they're not going to see results either as fast or at all when it comes to thyroid function. So if you have a healthy thyroid, you're most of the time going to have a healthy heart. And back in the old days, whenever they would look at the thyroid, one of the things you would notice is triglycerides and cholesterol levels were usually signs of a potential thyroid problem. Nowadays, we have completely separate, medications for those, but sometimes the real cause can be coming from a dysfunctional thyroid. And here's a couple of other bits of information. You'll have a tendency to see more thyroid problems in parts of the country that have all four seasons, and that's because of the thyroid's importance of regulating body temperature from hot to cold or cold to hot. So hot flashes, females with their periods, periods that aren't regular, inconsistent, that could also be a thyroid thing. Also, another thing, if you have a constant metallic taste in your mouth, that can many times be because of a need for iodine. And we talked about cholesterol. A lot of times when women are having trouble with pregnancy or trying to conceive and are having a hard time, they may go get their thyroid levels checked, and the thyroid could appear normal, right? But the thyroid scale is so broad, the range of dysfunctional to hyper or hypo, that a lot of times doctors will just simply test TSH and say, oh, you're fine, and send you home, but you've got all these symptoms, right? So it's real important. Now, shoulder problems. Now, what would thyroid have to do with shoulder problems? Well, there's a muscle in the back of the shoulder that's associated with thyroid function that can malfunction whenever the thyroid is under stress or the thyroid is underperforming. And one of the things you'll notice in people, if you'll watch them, you'll see this quite a bit if you watch, go to malls and different places where there's a lot of people, watch how people walk. So one of the things that you'll see is when they're walking, if their palms are like this, and when they walk, it looks like they're paddling air, okay? That is a sign of a dysfunction of the muscle associated with thyroid function. And so that muscle back here, its job is to keep the palms facing in. So when you see people at the mall and they're walking and you see them paddling air, they could very well be dealing with some sort of an underlying thyroid problem. Blood sugar problems. Many times when people are highly emotional and they've got a lot of emotional issues and a lot of emotional stress or problems, a lot of times if you check their thyroid and get their blood sugar balanced, you'll see a lot of those emotional issues vanish, if not, improve quite a bit. One of the big things I also find is that women and men, for that matter, can have symptoms of thyroid and be on thyroid medication, but still have all these symptoms and not really feel like they're improving. So a lot of times, like I was saying about the hypothalamus and pituitary, the adrenal glands could also be a hidden cause of a low thyroid. So you want to make sure that the adrenal glands are being evaluated, not just with labs, but evaluating the adrenal glands structurally because of all the different circuit breakers in the body that are associated with the thyroid, the hypothalamus, the adrenals, and the pituitary and the liver, making sure that all those circuits are where they belong and functioning properly. But also, the thyroid and the adrenals are on a teeter-totter. So I might have someone come in the office that has all the symptoms of thyroid, and I start to address those, and then when they come back, say 30 days later, they start exhibiting symptoms of adrenal. And so that's one of the reasons why in our office we use muscle testing quite a bit. We test various muscles of the body because that gives us so much information that you just won't get from a lab test. And one of the big things that we're seeing a lot of these days is problems with grains, meaning that people are eating grains, our immune systems and our small intestines are so dysfunctional that we're not metabolizing grains properly. And that can create an autoimmune-like thyroid condition. So a lot of times what we see is that if you really want to get your thyroid going, you need to be on the right nutritional support. You need to be getting all the different circuit breakers associated with the thyroid and the rest of the endocrine system balanced. You want to change your diet and get off of things like gluten, grains of all kinds. And what we're going to talk about next is the emotions. Okay, so emotions that a person could be dealing with could very well be a reflection of the thyroid function. So we're going to come over here to the chart, and we hope that you can see this. We're going to have them zoom in on this. But if you look at the thyroid, one of the things about the thyroid is that the thyroid and the adrenals share some of the emotions that a person may experience when their thyroid or adrenals or other parts of their endocrine system aren't functioning properly. So muddled instability is just like a difficulty thinking. You know, muddled thinking, muddled instability are somewhat of the same thing. They can't really concentrate and focus. Their brain's kind of all over the place. They forget things. You know, they can't remember the names of people or places or things. Paranoia is another one. They're always worried that something bad's going to happen. And obviously the emotional instability and feeling up and down and just having a hard time figuring things out in their life. Here, what you'll see is some common areas of problems whenever people have a thyroid or an adrenal issue. They may complain of shoulder, wrist, elbow, or temporal means right up there in the temples of the head. They might complain of different headaches and things like that, okay? And obviously here's some potential nutrient needs and different muscles that are associated with the thyroid. This is that muscle in the back of the shoulder we discussed, okay? So if you'll follow me over here, the one other last thing we're going to talk about is the acupuncture system. This particular meridian, the triple warm or the triple heater meridian, goes up along the back of the hand, up the elbow into the shoulder, and ends right here like we just discussed in the temporal area. So a person may complain of pain in any of these areas, and the underlying cause could very well be a thyroid imbalance, okay? So anyway, I hope that some of this information has been helpful. I would strongly encourage you to find an applied kinesiologist in your area, someone who really understands the interplay of the emotions and the acupuncture system and the structure and also the biochemistry, because it can make a tremendous change in the quality of life for anyone suffering from a thyroid problem. So if you have any questions, feel free to private message me, and I hope you find this information helpful. Thanks.